Um, Hello, everyone. Anna here, and Virgo is showing me someone's deep regret weighing on them right now. Hit like and subscribe to stay connected with what's unfolding. There's someone carrying weight of remorse about how they treated you, and that guilt is creating internal pressure that affects them more than you might realize from your position of distance and protective detachment. Not mild regret about minor mistake, not passing uncomfortable feeling they can easily dismiss. Heavy guilt, persistent remorse, ongoing awareness that they damaged something valuable through their choices or their behavior or their absence when presence mattered. They replay what happened. They see clearly now what they couldn't or wouldn't see then. They understand in ways they didn't understand before how their actions affected you, how their words landed, how their choices created consequences you're still navigating, and your trust. That's the casualty they're most aware of losing. Not just your presence in their life, not just your affection or your attention, but your fundamental trust in them as safe person, as reliable person, as person worthy of vulnerability. They broke something that doesn't repair easily. They know it. They feel the weight of that knowing and the guilt about destroying your ability to trust them specifically, or maybe your ability to trust in general sits heavy in their consciousness in ways that don't let them rest easy. In the specific awareness someone develops after damaging trust is less than hash zero. 5 hash is greater than there's often delayed recognition. They didn't understand at the time what they were destroying. They minimized or rationalized or defended their behavior. They told themselves it wasn't that bad or you'd get over it or they had their reasons. But time and distance and reflection have brought clarity that wasn't there during the actual harm. And now they see it. Now they feel it. Now they carry understanding that comes too late to prevent the damage, but not too late to create genuine remorse. Let me illuminate what patterns might be active in someone experiencing guilt about what they did to you. In the psychology of guilt after trust violation, several factors determine whether remorse is genuine or performative. Genuine guilt focuses on the harm they caused you, on your experience of their behavior, on the consequences you're living with. Performative guilt focuses on their own discomfort, on how bad they feel, on their reputation or self image being damaged. One is about you, the other is about them disguised as being about you. Your situation might involve someone experiencing either type, and distinguishing between them matters significantly. Genuine remorse leads to changed behavior, to actual accountability, to understanding that apology without transformation is just manipulation. Performative remorse leads to repeated patterns, to apologies that feel good in moment but don't translate to different choices, to cycle of harm and apology and harm again that exhausts the person receiving it. Notice if someone who hurt you has demonstrated actual change or just expressed feelings about having hurt you. Have they done the internal work that prevents repeating the pattern? Have they examined what in them created the behavior? Have they developed skills or awareness or healing that makes them different than they were when they hurt you? Or have they just said they feel bad while remaining the same person who's likely to hurt you again in same ways? Some people carrying guilt about trust violations are experiencing it because they lost access to you. The guilt isn't really about your well being, it's about their loss. They feel bad because you're not available to them anymore, because they can't have what they had when you trusted them because the door closed and they're on the wrong side of it. The remorse serves their desire to restore access rather than genuine care for your healing. You might be dealing with exactly this self-serving guilt. Someone who hurt you now wants back in, now realizes what they lost, now feels bad because the consequences finally affected them rather than just you. Their guilt motivates reaching out, attempting reconciliation, trying to rebuild what they destroyed. Not because they truly understand the harm and have transformed, but because being cut off from you is uncomfortable and they want the discomfort to end. Others are carrying guilt that's genuinely about you, about what they recognize they put you through, about pain they caused that they finally understand was unnecessary and preventable. They're not trying to get back in, they're not seeking to restore access, they're just sitting with the knowing that they hurt someone who didn't deserve it. This guilt might lead to amends making if you're open to it, or it might just be weight they carry as consequence of their choices, as appropriate suffering for causing inappropriate suffering. This reflection invites you to consider, if someone who hurt you expressed remorse, would you believe it's genuine or strategic? Let me clarify what you don't trust anymore specifically reveals about the damage. Don't trust anymore means something fundamental shifted in you. Not just losing trust in them specifically, though that's certainly true, but possibly losing trust more broadly in your own judgment for having trusted them initially, in people in general for being capable of the harm they demonstrated, in your ability to protect yourself through discernment, in the possibility of safe connection when connection proved unsafe. The trust violation created ripples that extend beyond just the relationship where it occurred. In the deeper damage of trust destruction, the person who broke your trust might not fully comprehend what they took from you. They see that you won't trust them, they recognize you've closed off to them, but they might not grasp that you're now operating with entirely different paradigm about trust itself. That you're more guarded generally, more skeptical automatically, more protective reflexively, less open naturally. They damaged not just your relationship, but your relational capacity. It's essential you understand that this protective response is appropriate, not pathological. When trust gets violated significantly, withdrawing trust and becoming more cautious is healthy adaptation, not dysfunction. You're not broken for being less trusting. You're learning. You're not damaged for being more careful. You're wiser. You're not wrong for having boundaries that didn't exist before. You're protecting yourself based on information your experience provided. Some people who destroyed trust become frustrated when you don't trust easily again. They want you to get over it, to move on, to stop holding grudges. But rebuilding trust after it's been shattered takes time, takes consistent demonstration of trustworthiness, takes patience with your healing process that they might not be willing to provide. Their frustration with your protective distance reveals they still don't fully understand what they broke or what repairing it actually requires. You might be experiencing exactly this kind of pressure to restore trust before trust has been earned again. Someone wanting you to be vulnerable before they've proven they'll honor vulnerability this time. Someone expecting you to risk again without having done the work that would make the risk reasonable. Someone treating your appropriate caution as punishment rather than as natural consequence of their choices. Your refusal to comply with their timeline for your healing is boundary worth maintaining. Others understand that trust once broken requires extensive rebuilding, that they destroyed something precious that can't be hastily repaired, that your protective distance is consequence they created and must accept. These people are willing to demonstrate consistency over time, willing to honor your boundaries without resentment, willing to let you determine pace of any potential reconnection if reconnection is even something you want. This understanding is minimum requirement for beginning to consider whether trust could ever be restored. This reflection invites you to consider: has your lost trust changed only how you relate to the person who broke it, or how you relate to everyone? Let me address what you might be feeling about their guilt. Some people feel satisfaction when those who hurt them finally experience remorse. There's justice in it, in the person who caused pain finally feeling pain themselves, in consequence finally arriving for behavior that seemed to go unpunished. This isn't necessarily vindictive, it's often just recognition that actions have consequences, that hurting people isn't cost free, that guilt is appropriate response to having violated someone's trust. In the complex emotions around perpetrators' remorse, you might be experiencing validation mixed with caution. Validation that you weren't crazy for being hurt, that the harm was real and recognized even by person who caused it, that your response wasn't overreaction but appropriate reaction to actual violation. But also caution because guilt doesn't equal transformation, because feeling bad doesn't mean being different, because remorse without change is manipulation, whether intentional or not. It's important you don't let their guilt pressure you into premature reconciliation or forgiveness you're not ready for. Their discomfort with having hurt you is theirs to manage, not yours to resolve by making yourself available again before you're actually ready. Their guilt serves them if it drives genuine change, if it motivates actual growth, if it prevents them from repeating pattern with you or others. But it doesn't obligate your participation in their redemption arc. Other people feel nothing about their perpetrator's guilt. They've moved so far past the violation that the person's internal experience doesn't register as relevant anymore. They're not wishing harm, but they're also not particularly interested in the remorse, the guilt, the belated understanding. They've healed or are healing, they've rebuilt their life without that person in it, and whether that person feels guilty or not simply doesn't matter to their current reality. You might be in exactly this space of detachment, where their guilt is information you can note without it affecting you emotionally, where you're neither glad they're suffering nor interested in alleviating their suffering, where you're just neutral about their internal state because it's no longer your concern. This detachment is often sign of healthy healing, of having processed the violation and moved forward, of having released the person from occupying significant space in your consciousness. Still others feel complicated mix of anger that guilt comes so late, of grief for what could have been different if they'd understood sooner, of exhaustion at the thought of dealing with their attempts at amends, of protectiveness toward the self that was hurt, that doesn't want to risk hurt again. These complicated feelings are all valid, all reasonable responses to trust violation and subsequent remorse. This reflection invites you to consider: do you care that they feel guilty? Or has your healing moved you beyond caring about their internal experience? Let me speak to what you should consider if they attempt amends. Real amends include several components that performative apologies skip: specific acknowledgement of what they did wrong without minimizing or justifying clear understanding of how their behavior affected you without centering their own feelings. Changed behavior that demonstrates they've actually done work to be different. Respect for whatever boundaries you set, including possibility that you might not want any contact, regardless of their transformation. In the assessment of whether amends deserve consideration, You're evaluating both their words and their actions, both their stated understanding and their demonstrated change. Do they take full responsibility without any "but you did" qualifications? Do they focus on your experience or on their discomfort about having hurt you? Do they respect your need for distance or pressure you to engage before you're ready? Do they prove change or just promise it? It's critical you protect yourself from being love bombed or guilt tripped into reconciliation that doesn't serve you. Someone feeling guilty might do big gestures, dramatic declarations, persistent attempts at contact, all designed to alleviate their own guilt through your forgiveness rather than to genuinely honor what you need. Be skeptical of intensity, of urgency, of pressure disguised as passion. Real amends are patient, are respectful of your boundaries, are focused on your healing, not their absolution. Some situations warrant giving someone who violated your trust another chance after they've demonstrated genuine transformation over sustained period. They've done therapy. They've examined their patterns. They've taken accountability. They've changed visibly. They've respected your boundaries. They've been patient with your healing. If all that's true and you genuinely want reconnection, careful, slow rebuilding might be possible, though never guaranteed to succeed. But many situations don't warrant second chances. The violation was too severe, the pattern too entrenched, the change insufficient, or your healing requires permanent distance regardless of their transformation. You're allowed to acknowledge their growth without wanting them back in your life, allowed to appreciate their remorse without forgiving them, allowed to wish them well while maintaining permanent boundaries. Their guilt doesn't create your obligation to participate in their redemption. This reflection invites you to consider if genuine amends were offered. Would you even want reconnection, or do you prefer the distance? Someone feels guilty for what they did to you. They carry remorse about trust violation, about harm caused, about consequences their choices created for you. You don't trust anymore? The damage extends beyond just that relationship, affecting how you protect yourself, how you assess safety, how you engage with vulnerability generally, or at least with much more caution than before they taught you why caution matters. And your work is honoring your healing process regardless of their guilt, setting boundaries that serve your protection, not their comfort, evaluating any amends, attempts with healthy skepticism, remembering that their feelings don't obligate your response. You get to decide if and when and how you might ever trust them again, if that's even something you want, which it might not be, which is completely valid. May you honor your broken trust as teacher. May you protect yourself without apology. May you heal at your own pace. May you trust again when you're ready, not before. They carry guilt for what they did. You carry wisdom from what you survived. Their remorse doesn't require your participation. Your healing is yours to navigate. Remember this: you weren't wrong to trust initially just because trust was violated. You weren't naive, you were open. They were unsafe, you weren't defective in your judgment. The lesson isn't never trust, it's trust more carefully, trust more slowly, trust people who earn it through consistency over time. Your lost trust was stolen, not foolishly given. Protect yourself now, but don't let their violation convince you that trust itself is always dangerous. Just trust more wisely. They broke it. You're healing from it. That's the accurate story. Don't let guilt rewrite history.